Oh, hello. Okay, yeah, that's fine. Just checking all the things. I've got this in, I've got my microphone. Oh, let's put my mic up a little. Mm-hmm. All the things are happening now. It's fine. Here we are. Good morning. Good morning. Yes, it is morning here in Eastern Time Zone, so good morning. I hope you're having a great day. It's Friday. Friday of a long weekend here, probably in the States too. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. What do you guys do in the States? No clue. It's a long weekend here in Canada because Canada Day is tomorrow. And Canada Day is the day we celebrate the nation of Canada. Mm-hmm. And we also take some time to reflect. But yeah, so long weekend. Yay. And of course, happy Independence Day or whatever you guys do in the States, you know, whatever that thing is, July 4th thing. Whatever that is. Alrighty. Did you know, if you're not Canadian, did you know that the Canadian, like, July 1st, Canada Day, is like 3 days away from July 4th, American Independence Day? Just wondering. Okay. Speaking of Canada Day and time for reflection, my name is Dr. Shannon Coates, and I am coming to you live from a little town that is north of Toronto. And these are the traditional lands of the Haudenosaunee, the Anishinaabe, the Pewaukee, the Mississauga, and the Wendat Neo-Wendat peoples. So as I was saying, this is the perfect time to do some reflection on Canada Day, and also to enjoy what's looking like it's going to be a great long weekend. So here we are. I called, welcome to my live office hours. I called these live office hours, did I call it Pedagogy is greater than diagnosing? I can't remember whether I called it diagnosing is less than pedagogy. I can't remember now which one. I can't see anywhere, whatever that title is. The whole, oh, hey, there's Jackson Hearns. Hey, Alison. Whichever one it was, my intent is that we have this discussion around the idea that the more we move into understanding how to teach and understanding developing student agency in our teaching and understanding and being intentional about incorporating student-led learning in or student-centered learning, if you will, or student-centered teaching in our teaching, the less important diagnostic skills will seem or feel. And this has been a recurring theme as I've been doing exit interviews with the folks who were part of the VoicePed Undegree 2022-2023. Short little ad. I am starting to meet with people to talk about the VoicePed Undegree 23-24. Those of you who are on the interest list, who are on my interest list, will get an email relatively soon about that if you're interested. So just, you can go to my website and sign up for that information about that if you would like. So we start in September and it runs for 8 months. And so the folks who I've been speaking to about their teaching and about their experience in the VoicePed Undegree this past year, a reoccurring theme has been, one of my goals when I came into the program was to be able to have better diagnostic skills. I wanted to really understand what was happening. I wanted to have more confidence in my teaching, and the confidence in my teaching would then be, I think that the way that I'm going to have more confidence in my teaching and the way I'm going to be a more confident teacher and also feel like I'm not just taking people's money and not giving them their value, right? There's a whole lot of stuff tied up in value, what we think about ourselves, imposter, well, let's put it in big quotes, imposter syndrome, but there's a whole bunch of stuff tied up in all of that. which we're not going to get into here, but trust me, that all of that comes up as well, and it's all tied into this. The thing I think I'm lacking in my teaching, the thing that I feel most uncomfortable, that's the word, uncomfortable about in my teaching, the thing that keeps me up at night in my teaching, or the main thing, is that I don't have enough information to teach them well. What if someone comes in and I don't have the right exercise? What if I can't fix the singer? What if I can't get them to their goal? What if I don't know how to do what it is that they need to do? What if I don't know how to teach the thing? Meaning what? And so we've sort of bought into this kind of myth. We've bought into this thing. That part about fixing, right? We've bought into this thing that our value as a teacher is having all of the latest information about anatomy and physiology. What is belting, and also like what is, how do I get here? Oh, thanks, Liz. I love you. How do I get, how do I work with singers who have too much tongue tension? How do I work with singers who how do I work with singers who are going through puberty? How do I work with singers, like all of these sort of things that we're terrified that we're not going to be able to fix, or we're not going to be able to diagnose even, right? In the first place, we're going to hear something in the voice and we're going to try all of our tricks, and we're going to be like, what if I can't solve this problem for this singer? And we see these posts all the time. Like these posts come up all the time in the voice, in the voice teacher groups on Facebook, etc., the forums. And there's a validity, of course, to, hey, I came across this thing, I've never come across it before. What are your ideas? How are you working through this? I mean, of course there's a validity to that, and there's a community. I'm glad there's a community there for that. And at the same time, the posts go something like this. Hey, the singer I'm working with has XYZ issue. You name it. There are thousands. XYZ issue. I have tried all of my tricks, I've tried all of my exercises, I've tried everything I know, I've used all of the exercises from this book, I've used all of the exercises I got from this book, from this teacher, and it's still not solving the problem. What are your ideas? What do you think could be wrong? So we've bought into this thing that says that my effectiveness as a teacher only goes so far to me being able to diagnose and then have the right exercise to fix the problem, right? Yes, we have bought into that. And even when we understand, and even when we are values forward in our teaching, and we are saying, I want to do student-led teaching, and I am incorporating, even when we are incorporating aspects of student-led teaching and student-centered teaching and developing agency, right? Even when we are doing those things, perhaps you've been watching my videos for a long time, perhaps, and you're like, oh, that's a good idea, I should do that, right? Like, that is great. So even when we're doing those things, that mentality, that voice in our head is still there saying to us, you do not have enough knowledge yet to solve the next person's problem who comes into the studio. What if someone comes into the studio and you don't know what to do? You are still a fraud. You're just swimming. You're just out here swimming. You don't know, like you're working your ass off. You're working really hard. Try to keep it PG. You're working really hard. And this leads to us, buying all of the books, taking all of the courses. And don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with buying all the books and taking all of the courses. Nothing wrong with that. It leads to us compiling all of the exercises. It leads to all of these things where we are working so very hard to be the best diagnostician, to have all of the exercises, to be able to solve singers' problems as soon as they walk into the studio. Or even if we even when we have this understanding that learning takes longer than we think, it's not linear, even when we have this understanding about motor learning, even when we have an understanding of sort of long-term progress and learning over longer trajectories, even when we have that understanding, we still carry with us this this big baggage of like, I've got to do all of this really hard work to make sure that I am not doing wrong by these singers, to make sure that I am 100, like that I know all of the things and that I'm not doing wrong by these singers. And so, what happens when we get into a situation like the VoicePed Undegree? I've also been doing, oh, Alison, I did not plan it just for you. Oh, my heart, yeah. Do you know? I know. It's, oh, good. It's so needed. So what happens then is when folks get into the VoicePed Undegree, or I've been doing VoicePed VIP Days in June. I've been doing some over June, and there are still some spaces available in July. If that's something you're interested in, let me know. VoicePed VIP Days, and what we do in a VoicePed VIP Day is you and I as a voice teacher, we work together like super concentrated, and we kick around some of this stuff real hard, and we really like it, and there are almost always tears and almost always these sort of like, okay, I've still got more learning to do in this area, and I thought I was doing this so well, and you are doing it so well, don't get me wrong, and now we're just moving into a slightly different trajectory, right? So almost always what comes out of those days and out of what has come out of the VPUD is this shedding, or at least the beginning of the journey of shedding this responsibility, this heavy burden of having to do all of the work and being so responsible for all of the things and for making, like doing like this hard work of diagnosing and knowing exactly what's happening in the voice always, and having this like, our only goal is so that the singer is singing better, and that they're doing better, and that's like all tied up in our self-worth as a teacher. So the beginning of that journey of shedding that, because we start to work toward pedagogy. So we start to work toward putting those values, those student-led learning values, front and center in the teaching. And I want to give 3 examples of what that looks like and how things change when we start to make that explicit, what this looks like in the actual teaching and in the voice studio. Because let me say this as well, everyone I have worked with so far in the VoicePed VIP Days and in the VPUD are wonderful teachers. They're wonderful teachers who are committed to inclusive voice studios, who are committed to meeting students where they are, who are committed to gathering as much knowledge and information that they can, who are committed to creating spaces that are safe for singers, who are working, many of them are working with with populations who are traumatized, like traumatized populations. I know that word can get overused, but singers who have had traumatizing experiences in singing, and or who have been told that they aren't able to, they shouldn't be singing or whatever. And so lots of these folks are working with singers with a long trajectory where they're supporting singers to come into the joy of singing. I mean, these are wonderful teachers. Wonderful teachers. And then we get in the studio, and I get in the studio with them, and it gets real uncomfortable real fast, because I'm in the studio in your teaching space with you, and boy does it take a lot of trust, and makes me cry sometimes, because like you're just out there trusting me to be in there with you, and but I'm in there in the studio, and what I'm doing is asking you the questions that mean that And I'm sitting with you in the uncomfortableness of putting those values into place where you say, I trust the singer, and now I'm actually going to step back and really do the thing. And that is so uncomfortable for all of us, so uncomfortable. So here's some examples of what that looks like. A singer you're working with comes into the studio for their lesson, and the first thing that you say to them is, hey, how was your singing? How did your singing go this week? Great, blah, blah, blah. You've worked with this singer for perhaps long enough to know that what their goals are. You know what the things are in their voice that they're working on. You've had some wonderful successes, and there are lots of things that are still ongoing in terms of what we're still, working toward, what we want to hear more of in the voice, where we want to get to. And so you have this as the teacher, you have this in the back of your mind. And you also perhaps have like 5 different exercises. Maybe you're the teacher who flies by the seat of the pants a little bit and like has their kind of favorite exercise that they use with almost everybody, and you just kind of go to that, you do it a little different for each person. Or maybe you're the teacher who has looks up a set of exercises to do every single week that you want for this specific person to work on these specific things. Either way, or maybe you're somewhere in between. I bet you can guess which teacher I am. A little bit fly by the seat of my pants. But you have an idea in the back of your head of what this singer needs and which exercises they need to work on. And you know what rep they're working on, and you know what the stuff is that needs to happen in that rep, where they need to go in the rep. And so the first question you say is, hey, what have you been working on? How's it going? How you feeling? Blah, blah, blah. That's great. And then you say, and you have a little conversation. Of course you do. You're a wonderful teacher who has a wonderful rapport with the singers you work with. And then you say, okay, great. Let's do some singing. Let's warm up. And then you lead them in a warm up. All good. This is fantastic. You know what the singer needs more of in their voice. You know which warm-up is going to be useful for them to try to find that coordination. You also might know which warm-ups have been really successful in finding coordinations for them in the past, etc. Right? Great. If you're that teacher, that's wonderful. Here's what we will do in the lesson. We will not start with a warm-up. We will say, what does your body want today? Or, what does your body want to sing today? Or, what rep do you want to sing today? All right. 3 questions that start a conversation and that put the singer in the driver's seat. That say, I trust you to know what you need. I might know what you need, but I trust you to know what you need. It's really uncomfortable. So what do we say? And then they say, maybe to the first question, they might say, I don't know what I want. I don't know what my body wants. That's fine. Lots of people don't know. That's fine. So then we give some options. Say, oh, so do you want to do some stretchy, strong, shout out singing? Do you want to do some emotional ballad kind of singing? Do you want to do some soft interior kind of singing? What does your body want? Let's just see. What does your body want? You could do it that way. You can also do it, what rep do you want to sing? And if they've got some music that they want to sing, terrific. All right. Or you may ask, what movement does your body want to do today? Does your body want to have some strong movements? Does your body want to have some up movements? Does your body want to have some sit on the floor and scrunch down movements? What does your body want to do today? And then, so lots of folks I know, lots of teachers I work with are really wonderful about, what are you singing today? What are we working on today? And then they take it from there, right? So then what do? We say, okay, that's great. Yeah, you want to work on XYZ today? You want to work on Bring It On? Terrific. And then in our heads, we're scrolling through and we're like, oh yeah, so there's that little belt part, and then they've got to make sure that they've got that sustained B all the way through, and they've got to make sure we've got that, oh yeah, and there's that talky part at the beginning. So in our heads, we're just kind of going through all that stuff, and then we do a warm-up with them to work on those things. And then we go into the music. If that's you, your next question then in just going the next step in student-led learning and trusting the singer in front of you. The next step is, which part of that song do you want to hear, what do you want to hear more of in that song? And which part? Or in the body exercise, in the like, what does your body want to do more of? When they give you an answer, what do you say? Okay. Which of the exercises we've done, or that you've ever had in your whole life, do you think would help to find that coordination? Or do you think would help to figure that out for your body? We've done, I mean, in many cases, again, the teachers who I'm working with, in many cases have been working with these singers for, years, right? So that's years of wonderful exercises and wonderful, like, they've got the resources, they've got the tools, right? So what do I say? Rather than saying, okay, we're going to use XYZ exercise, I say, which one of those exercises do you think is going to get that response or find that coordination for you? Which of the exercises we've worked on, if we're talking about one of the pieces that they're bringing in, and you say, hey, which, what do you want to hear more of in that song, and which passage specifically? And then they say, well, the one chorus where I have to do like that part where I have to get into the lower part of the voice, and it never sounds like I can never hear my voice in that part. It's a little too low. Amazing. So what do you want to hear more of? We're gonna draw out what do you want to hear more of, not like what isn't happening, right? What do I want to hear more of? Okay. Oh, so you want it to be more present. You want that sound to be more present and sound more comfortable down there? Amazing. What of the exercises we've done might help with that? In all of the years that I have been doing this kind of work with voice teachers, I have never been in a situation where a student could not come up with an exercise that would be useful to work on whatever it was that they wanted to work on in their singing. We get scared, right? That is a super vulnerable place to be as voice teachers, because we think, well, but what if they don't know? What if I haven't taught them well enough? What if I can't trust them? And I'm in the lesson with you, holding your hand and saying, you could be strong. You believe in the student, right? You believe in this singer. You trust the singer. You trust that they have everything they already need within themselves. You trust that they are on a journey of agency and understanding and hearing their own bodies, right? You know this. You've said this. I've heard you say this. You're on this journey. This is the step in the journey. I'm here to hold your hand while we just sit in the uncomfortableness of trusting them and asking them these questions that will allow them to start to trust themselves as well. So that's the one part of the lesson where, literally right off the top, where we say, what does your body want? What do you want to do today? And also, which exercise that we have done, or you found somewhere else, or that you're doing at home, what does your body want to do in order to make that sound or to find that coordination? Terrific. Let's do it together. Okay. That's the one thing. So let me just pull that out. What does that do then for the singer? What that leaves, what that models for the singer, and what that teaches the singer, what that singer learns, is that when they're home, when they're practicing for a gig, when they're about to go to an audition, when they're learning music, when they're practicing, when they're just singing, they can listen to their body and they can trust their bodies to tell them what they need. I'm sorry, what now? That's what we're modeling in the studio, right? When I give you the exercise every single week, and I tell you what to sing and what it's going to do for you every single week, that is not modeling that I trust you and that you have everything you need within your body. That's not modeling that. That's modeling that I trust me and I have the diagnostic skills and the information that you need, and I'm here to hand it over to you, and you will never be free of me. Because you will always need me and all of my exercise books and all of my, right? And all of my, no, you will never be free of me. You will always need me. right? So what this models, this shows singers, hey, you can listen to your body. You can ask your body, what do I need to do today? You know what? I want to work on like something I've never worked on before. What does my body need to do for that? I bet I've got an exercise or two that I worked with on my teacher at some point, or I can just trust my body to start to work it out and try to figure it out. So that's the one part. The next part where we can trust singers and where we can incorporate more agency, and again, that feels very uncomfortable or can feel really uncomfortable in a voice lesson when I'm holding your hand, I'm pushing you a little bit to stay in the lesson and to stay trusting that singer in front of you, and to try not to cry. It's gonna be okay. But I'm there. I'm here. I'm with you. I'm trusting. I'm holding the trust with you. Is when the singer finds a coordination. So say you're working on a technical exercise, you're working on something, you're working on an exercise or a warm-up, or you're doing something, and the singer finds a coordination. They find this thing and they're able to talk to you about it, and like you're asking them all of the questions like, oh, what does that feel like? What changed specifically? What did you observe? You're asking those wonderful questions, which almost everyone I work with actually is asking those questions already, right? We're on that track of like, what does that feel like? What changed for you? What did you observe? So we're asking those questions, and then we move to another exercise. We're like, yay, you learned a thing. That's great. And we move to another exercise. Or we decide to sing a song or something, we do something else. That is a missed opportunity for the singer and for you as the teacher, for the singer to do some really wonderful learning about agency and body awareness in singing. Because here's the question to ask. Where would you like to use this newfound coordination? In what piece and in what spot? Where is this going to work? Let's apply it immediately into the rep. Where is this going to work? So we as the teacher, our first instinct so often is to be like, yay, we figured out the high belt. Yay, we got more twang. Yay, we figured out like legato. Yay, we figured out pure vowels. Yay, we figured out an ah vowel. Oh, Liz, thank you. Right? I figured out all of the amazing. They sang that messa di voce on a whatever pitch on an ah vowel, and it was kiss. Chef's kiss, perfect. And then we just put it in our back pocket and then we move on as teachers, right? Because we're like, check, got it. Also, I'm amazing at this. It's another sort of validation of how great our diagnostic skills and how good we are at choosing exercises, right? It becomes this sort of validation of that. So what are we going to do instead? We're going to say, that was amazing. Loved that. And now, what song? What song do you want to work on that in? Where do we want to go with this now? So, and again, I've never been in a lesson where a singer could not think of somewhere to apply what they had just learned. Where a singer did not know, where they're like, I don't know. Every single time I have been in a lesson with singers working in this way, every single one of them has been like 2 seconds. It takes like that much time to be like, oh, I want to try this in XYZ song on these words in this like 3 notes. Yes. Like every single time. Every single time. Some teachers will go directly to that themselves, right? So sometimes we'll be in the position where we're like, oh yeah, you figured out that high belt mix. That's amazing. Let's work that out on, One Perfect Moment or whatever. I always pick One Perfect Moment, but let's work that out in this song, right? Oh yeah, Alison. Oh, let me come back to that comment because you're so right, and this is so true. So true. Lots of truth there. And also, Alison, you were one of the first people who I worked with Alison in some Alexander technique. We traded some voice lessons for some Alexander technique work a while back now. But Alison Jane Taylor, by the way, look her up. Sensible singing, is that correct, Alison? Let me know if that's correct. I can't remember now. And Alison was one of the first people working in this like questioning what does your body need way, and noticing what's in there, like noticing what's happening in your body way, where I was like, oh, we can do this in singing lessons. How do we get more of this in singing lessons? You're one of the first people that was practical application, Alison. So just so you know, sensible. That's right. Yeah, look up, Alison. Oh gosh, yes. So often what we do is, as voice teachers, when a singer has discovered a coordination, when a singer has discovered a coordination, often we will have it in the back of our mind where to apply that immediately, right? So often sometimes we'll just go on to the next thing, which is a missed opportunity. And sometimes we will have the presence to be like, oh, you know what? This would go really well in XYZ song. Let's work on that song. None of this is terrible teaching, y'all. This is not bad teaching. There's so much wonderfulness. It's absolutely fine. And like I said, when I'm in a lesson with you and I'm working with you on your teaching, I'm going to hold your feet to the fire a little bit about, wait, if you say that you trust the singer you're working with and you want to develop and support them through learning agency around their body and what their body wants to do and the sounds they want to make, the next question is not, or the next stage is not you telling them what to sing next. The next stage is asking them where they want to apply this. As I said, I've never been in a lesson situation where the singer has not almost immediately known exactly where they wanted to use this new coordination that they had discovered. Like, I've never. In some cases, it's weird because they want to use this new coordination in a way that I had like their teacher and would never have thought of in a million years. And in some cases, it's weird because they're fixing a problem that their teacher and I did not perceive to even have had happened. They're using it to find a different coordination that will replace a coordination that felt uncomfortable to them, that they didn't like the tonal outcome of, etc. So they didn't like it, and they're using this to do something different in that spot that their teacher and I were like, that, I didn't even know that was like, that wasn't comfortable for you. I didn't even know, like, outwardly, it didn't sound like it was something that we needed to address. Right? So then what happens? Again, what happens there is then we move, let me just say something about sort of like scaffolding here, like in terms of learning. So then you don't sing the whole song. You don't even just sing the part that they pointed out. What do? We take the exercise directly onto the melody of the song. Right? So if you were doing an E slide and you found a thing, then you're going to E slide through the song, through where that is, right? And you're going to do it many times. You're going to come back and forth and find that coordination again in the E on the song, and blah. And then you're going to maybe add one word at a time into the song and go back to the E and come back in. Like, we're not just going to go directly into the song and sing the song through and say, okay, good, apply. We're going to scaffold that sucker, okay? We're going to go a little slower in the scaffolding. Anyway. So see how that is a modeling, again, of you know enough to be able to apply and to be able to work in your bodies. You know enough. As a singer, you can trust your own body and you can trust this new sensation and this new coordination is going to stay with you. you have a way to keep doing that new coordination. You don't have to keep coming back to me, and you don't have to keep coming back into our singing lessons, and we don't have to keep doing that exercise over and over and over again to find the coordination again and again and again while I tell you how to find that coordination. You can do it. So again, I'm sitting with you in the lesson, and we are just sitting in that uncomfortableness of, I don't have to know what to do next. I don't actually have to tell them. I don't have to come up with the song. I don't have to come up with the repertoire. I don't have to diagnose where it's supposed to be different. I don't have to diagnose it. Also, I don't have to know why it needs to be different. So I don't actually have to know. We found this coordination over here in this exercise, or whatever it was, by following that student-led. We found that coordination there. Terrific. And now we're going to just put it into the song, right? Yes, leading and facilitating, exactly, facilitating, right? Supporting. So now we're over in this song, and I as the teacher, I don't have to know that it was because they had they needed to have a more trust, don't test. Oh, I love that too. Byron Jones, Seth is saying Byron Jones at Shenandoah used to use the phrase trust, don't test. Yeah, trust over test. I like that too, right? So now what am I, as the voice teacher in this situation, I no longer have to diagnose in that song, okay, they're not using enough twang, and that's because they haven't done enough of XYZ, and so now we need to do exercises that will allow for this blah, blah, blah. I don't have to do that. I don't have to have all of that information. I don't have to have all of those diagnostics. I don't even have to diagnose correctly. Don't get me wrong. It helps. This is all great information to have. I have courses that you can take to figure this stuff out. Absolutely. But it's not more important than pedagogy, is what I'm saying. Yes. Yeah, it doesn't exactly, Liz is saying, love where this is going about evaluation of our own efficacy as teachers. It doesn't matter if I was right about my diagnosis. No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't. Why does it matter? Because okay, let me come back to that. The third way that this looks different in the voice studio, or that this kind of work looks different in the voice studio, when we start to really challenge ourselves to just keep going in that student-led, student-centered, agency supporting way, that facilitating supporting way, is in the diagnostic realm. So I've worked with lots of voice teachers who have excellent diagnostic skills and they know a lot of stuff, and I've worked with lots of voice teachers who don't know as much, diagnostically speaking, and who aren't necessarily able to hear, to associate this sound with specific coordinations, and or who aren't necessarily able to be like, there's something in this sound and I know the exercise that I need to have in order to change the coordination there, right? I've worked with lots of voice teachers on both sides and all the way in between. And what happens when we want to diagnose something? Let me give you an example. A singer you're working with comes in specifically because they want to change something about their singing, or they're not able to figure something out themselves. And so they come in specifically, and they're coming to you specifically for your expertise in terms of being able to tell them what to do next, because they're a well-trained singer, etc., right? So they're coming specifically for that expertise. Our first inclination as voice teachers, especially in that kind of situation, is to say, okay, well, the things that are happening here are X, Y, Z, and also you need to remember that this first note is going to be the one that's going to, do X, Y, Z for this, and also right now you've got your jaw doing this, and you might want to, let's work on the jaw doing this, and blah, 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 right?
So that's our first inclination. Even in this, and in this kind of situation, you might feel justified in having that, in giving the diagnosis specifically, because that's what the singer is coming to you for. And maybe they're another voice teacher. I've worked with lots of voice teachers who are, and lots of pro singers who know their voice really, really well. And they are coming into the studio not because they want a voice lesson per se, but because something isn't working. They've got a little something not quite working the way they want it to. Something isn't, they're not getting the sound they want to get. And they want some answers. So it feels like the valid response is to give them those answers and to explain the thing to them, right? That's what it feels like. That's what feels like the valid response, especially when you're working with voice teachers. And especially when you're a voice teacher working with voice teachers, right? Trust me. I want to give the answers, man. I am a teacher to my core. If I know something that you don't know yet, boy, do I really want to help you understand that thing. It is hard. It is hard. I'm also from a long line of preachers. So it's in my blood to say the thing. Right. You feel justified, right? Yes. But what happens? Oh, thank you. The coif is perfect today. Well, thank you so much. I don't know what it looks like from the back. It's not bad from the front, eh? The back. Who knows? Is it Zoom hair? I have no idea. So we feel justified, especially in that kind of situation. And for folks who are perhaps in a more generalized voice studio, we feel justified, especially when we've got those adult singers who are really interested in how it all works. It feels justified, right? That's a valid situation. Again, here's where I am, holding you, holding your feet maybe a little to the fire, or maybe just like giving you a big hug, whatever you need, just holding your hand, whatever you need, in the studio, and saying, what do you believe about the singer in front of you? Do you believe that they have the information and that you can facilitate them discovering this for themselves? And you're telling me you do. You're telling me that's what you believe. That's what you say. That's why you're here. That's why you're working with me. So your next step is not to diagnose and not to give, you can diagnose internally, of course, but your next step is not to diagnose, is not to say, yes, you need to do X, Y, Z. What is your next step? Your next step is, what would it feel like if that thing, that whatever that thing is that we're working on, changed to the thing that you want? How would your body be different? How would it sound different? What would feel different? Let's do some body movements. What does your body want to do in order to make that sound? What do you want to do? Like, what are some animal sounds? What are some of the sounds that you associate with that sound? What can we find already within you that I can support you to find versus me telling you that thing? Oh. You can do it. Pinky swear. And if you need to, and again, in all of the situations that I have worked with voice teachers where I'm popping in as they're about to say, well, you need to work on X, Y, Z, and here's why this is happening. As they're about to say the thing, I'm like popping in, because we work almost exclusively on Zoom. I'm popping in and I'm like, ooh. What are the questions you can ask so that they come to this learning themselves? I call this learning over lecture. This is my pithy little statement. Learning over lecture. Yes, what can we find already within you to support this thing? Because you just told me the reason that you're working with me is because you want to move further into agency, supporting agency, into student-led learning. You want to move further into like getting out of the, hierarchical, patriarchal system of learning and teaching. You want to get out of that. Okay, you just told me that. So now I'm going to hold your hand as we do this very uncomfortable thing and put ourselves back, stop centering ourselves as the knowledgeable teachers. Ouch! And we start centering the student and the student's experience, right? Oh yeah, I'm coming back. I know, Alison, I'm totally coming back to that as well. So I have a thing for that as well, because yes, I know. I can't help myself sometimes, feels like. So as soon as you start to hear yourself explain a thing or give a lecture, stop yourself if you can. Yes, because there's an emotional fortitude that is required. Yes, it is so hard. Like, it is hard work. This is what I'm saying, Liz. Like, when I am working with singers in this situation, in voice studios, I don't think I've had any teachers crying in voice studios in those situations yet, but absolutely coming out afterwards as we're doing sort of like a roundup where they're saying, okay, that was awful. That was so uncomfortable. I did not like that. That was so uncomfortable. I felt like I didn't know what I was doing. I felt like a fraud. I felt like I'd been doing the wrong thing all these years. That was so uncomfortable. That was awful. I did not like it. And I'm like, yes, I'm here for this. I'm here with you in this. I am here for this. And it requires this incredible emotional fortitude. And in so many cases too, the thing is that this has not been modeled for us. Ever. We'll come back, Alison, I'm going to come back to your other comment in a minute too. This has not been modeled for us in our industry. There's no manual in our industry, right? There's nothing here in our industry yet that talks about how to work in this way in the voice studio or in a music lesson. There's nothing yet. To my knowledge, I mean, there are folks who are doing this work for sure. Robert Sussuma is someone who I think is doing this kind of work, and Alison, of course, like folks who have this crossover with Alexander technique, with somatic experiencing, with coaching. Folks who have this crossover into these other industries where they are taking some of that, right? Taking some of that into the teaching, that's where I think we're starting to see that. But in the mainstream, no one is making this explicit. And in the mainstream, yes, there is a whole thing. Like, yes, of course I want to do student-led learning. Of course I want to do values first. Of course I want to have, developing agency in the voice studio. Of course I don't want to be a top-down teacher. Of course, right? All of that is there where I'm like, of course I don't want to. We say the things, but then it is not yet in the mainstream explicit as to what this actually looks like in the voice studio. So the deconstructing, exactly. So teachers are doing this work, right? We're doing this work. We're deconstructing the value that we have been taught that we bring to the lesson, right? Aw, Liz. And also the Facebook, like, I'm going to unhide that message. They hid it. Right, yeah, Desmond, that's such a good question. Let me get to that in just a second as well. We don't have these models yet in mainstream voice studios. And so voice teachers are reaching for it, right? We're reaching for this. We're trying. We're in the dark over here. And at the same time, we're fighting something that has not been named yet, right? So we know that we've come through this Western classical tradition. We know that we've come through this academic tradition. We know that we have this like top-down thing in ourselves, but it's so implicit. It's like implicit bias. Until I make it explicit for you, we don't realize it. I'm just reaching for it. And I don't realize yet what that really looks like in the voice studio. And then I'll tell you what, as soon as we start to put these things in place, as soon as we start to actually do these things, here's the response. Voice teachers. As soon as we start to like, just step by step, right? Little things, start with the little things. As soon as we start to have that deconstruction, here's what voice teachers say. It's easier. The work is so much easier because I don't have to gather all the resources and memorize them and know all the things. I don't have to. It's so much easier. It's so much more fun because I'm not in charge of everything now. I'm not responsible for everything. I'm way more engaged with my lessons because all I'm doing is like learning from the singer in front of me. We're just figuring this stuff out together. It's so fun, way more engaging. I'm excited to teach more. And also, how was this not obvious to me before? There often is a little bit of a anger, which I totally get, because they're like, okay, I thought I was doing the right thing, and now I see this, and now this is so easy? And what? Why did no one do this before? And then some of the voice teachers who I've worked with will go back to their voice teacher for lessons, and it gets real uncomfortable in the lesson for them because they're in a place where they're working with singers in such a more confirming, supporting, agency supporting way, and now they're in a voice lesson with their own voice teacher who is wonderful, don't get me wrong, and at the same time they feel like they're being stifled because they're not able, their wonderfully supportive voice teacher has not yet realized what it means to be actually means to be a wonderfully supportive voice teacher. So, Desmond, let me say this one. How would you handle singers that give the answer that they think we want to hear? Yeah, the singer that might be afraid to say, I don't know. Yes, this is such a common experience when we start to really move into this way of working with singers, because singers don't know to begin with so often. Yes, Seth, that's exactly right as well. Self-awareness is a learned skill, exactly. It is rare that you will have singers in the studio who will, it is rare we have singers in the studio who will come in with the level of agency that we want, that we're trying to support students to get to, right? I'll tell you, the one exception here, often, and if you talk to my colleague and friend Jess Baldwin about this, the one exception to this is that very often the folks who have had no lessons and who have had no choir and who have not been involved in the more traditional kind of side of things, learning how to sing, haven't been involved in that side of things, and who are coming for, and who've maybe been in bands their whole lives, and who are coming into the studio because they want to work on an album, or they just want to, like, maybe their voice is getting tired while they're performing. But in general, popular music singers, if they've had no other influences, generally when they come into the voice studio, they have a level of agency that is beautiful to behold. And we need to teach it a different way for that, which I've talked about before. But, and also, I think today you can find another, I think, yes, you can still buy the recording of the contemporary voice class and also the panel with Jess, where we talked about that quite a lot, about working with contemporary voice singers, popular music singers, and about the level of agency that they often bring into the studio, and also when those folks have had lots of outside influences, and also lots of singers who do not yet know how to answer those questions, who have never been given permission to listen to their body, who no one has ever told them or modeled to them that I trust you and I trust your body. No one has ever modeled that for them before. So they have no idea what it means to, like, hear that. Andragogy versus pedagogy, yeah, there is a thing there too. Seth is saying, I have found with students that deepening or broadening the questions or simply rephrasing them can encourage the student to dig a bit deeper. Yep, self-awareness is a learned skill. Alison is saying, you might ask them if that's what's happening right now. Ask them if they're trying to please you. Yes, you could say, hey, let's just consider that this space might be a different space and we'll co-create it together. I love that, Alison. And it'll be vulnerable and might be weird and it'll be wonderful, full of possibility, all of those things. We're just going to create a different kind of space here together where we're going to figure it out together. And you don't have any answers right now, and that's fine. What I generally offer is that when folks do not have answers, give them options, give them a little box of options. So when we say, what did you observe about that? You can say, did you observe something happening in your throat? Did you observe anything happening in your tongue? Was there something happening in their torso? Did your hands want to do something? Let's do it another 3 times, and you just let me know what you observe. So if you give them some options about what to observe, if you kind of direct the observation, they may be able to then start to get on that journey a little bit more, get farther on that journey a little faster. Alison, I think there was justified the work. Yes, the work. Yes. This is the thing, right? So Liz is saying the work for these generalists, beginning students, is not necessarily or only to indulge students in their curiosity how things work, but the work is facilitating the deep self-trust and internally emotional fortitude to listen to their own bodies and their own artistry. Yes, that is the work. This is the question that I am asked over and over and over again as well, right? Is, okay, but if my job isn't to give them exercises, and if my job isn't to give them repertoire, and if my job isn't to teach them how to sing, what is my job? Your job is to facilitate learning and to facilitate agency. That's your job. That's your actual job. I know. So we get all messed up about what our actual job is. And so Alice is saying, and this is so true, I love lecturing so much because I get so excited about all of the things. I know, same. So here's something to consider, Alison, and something that I have suggested many times, and something that I use myself, is, listen, I would love to get into the nitty-gritty of why this is happening and what's actually happening in the voice, and I know you would too. We're going to end the lesson 10 minutes early, and we're going to nerd out about it. Right now, I want you to sing this stuff. I almost swore there. Let's just keep singing it. Let's keep discovering it, and then we'll end 10 minutes early, and we'll nerd out together. Yeah. I say the same thing about folks who, neurodivergent folks, autistic folks, often tend to be info dumpers, right? Tend to have there's all this information here, I'm so excited, let's talk. And so I say the same thing. If that is something that you feel is part of your, part of the way that you participate in the world and the way your brain works, amazing. Make space for it in the lesson at a time when it's not going to change the learning outcome. Yeah, or it's going to be appropriate for the learning outcome, right? It's going to be even better for the learning outcome because now they have all of the physical stuff, the coordination, they've got the sensation, and now we get to talk about what just happened. Deconstructing the value. Oh, love you. Love. Yeah, there we go. Nerding out. Yes, the strength it takes to pause ourselves before nerding out. I know. It's so true, especially if you're working with another voice teacher, for example, which I've done a lot of, or especially if you're working with, an adult singer who really who's really interested and their brains also work in that way. It takes a lot of intestinal fortitude to recognize I'm about to do a lecture here. I need to transition over. How can I encourage learning? So learning over lecture. I'm about to say a whole bunch of things. I'm about to give a diagnosis. I'm about to tell you what to do next. I'm about to suggest or offer some exercises. What questions can I ask that will support this singer finding this information themselves? So my job is not to give you the information. My job is to support you while you get to the information. And having the information is fantastic. It's not about not having the information. I'm not saying don't do any more professional development. Of course not. I'm saying let's be clear about the importance, right? What's the actual, pedagogy is greater than diagnostic skills. Pinky swear. It'll make your teaching more fun, more engaging, more rewarding. And, here's the other thing. Here's the big bonus. The big bonus is that singers learn faster and more efficiently. So I was working with a singer in a voice in a lesson. We were working together, and we were doing this sort of self-directed, where finding this coordination, etc. And they found this coordination, and it was fantastic, and they really and so we did it 3 or 4 times, and then we did it in a couple different contexts, and then they knew exactly where they wanted to put it into which song, and so we did it in the song. And it was literally 15 minutes from the time that they walked into the lesson to the time when they were applying it in the song, and when they had actually got it in the song. And the teacher and I were talking about it afterwards, and the teacher felt that they were having some feelings, right? They were having some feelings, but about okay, well, what is my role here? And also, have I been doing this wrong the entire time, etc. Right? So then, oh yeah, that's also good. And then we have this all of these emotions coming up, right? And so my conversation there, the idea there is that it's not that this singer would not have found this coordination anyway at some point in their lives. Of course they would have. You're a fantastic teacher. You know all the exercise. You knew what needed to happen, and of course they would have found this coordination, and of course they would have applied it to this song, and of course at some point it would have been, consistent. The reason we were able to do it so quickly, and likely the reason that they will still have that learning throughout the next, it's likely going to stay with them, and you're likely not going to have to go over it many times, is that they got there themselves. They got there themselves. That's amazing. So we have this learning process that's so much more efficient and so much more fun. You don't have to do all the work. Seth saying, if you empower your students to ask their unfiltered questions, I found that they often will ask the questions about the contextual and functional stuff later on anyway. Yes, they want to know, right? So exactly, if you're providing a space for them to ask the questions, they're likely going to take advantage of that, right? Many of them will, yeah, take advantage of that. And like I said, we want to have that space at a time when it's going to support the learning versus interrupt the learning. Or it's going to support the motor learning versus interrupt the motor learning. All right, this has been 1 hour and 2 minutes, so that's enough. That's enough. And yes, all I have to say, so 2 things, let me just say 2 things. Yes, experience before theory supports integration 100%, right? This is actually just good learning. It's just good pedagogy. It's not. I know. And it's also so, again, so many of the voice teachers that I've worked with are this is actually so easy and so obvious. Of course I should be doing it this way. How come no one did this with me? And how come no one taught me how to do it? It's so obvious, of course. Right, 3 things. 1, if you are interested in purchasing Contemporary Voice 101 and the class and the panel, thank you, Liz. The purchase window closes today. That is an anatomy and physiology, basically contemporary versus classical, kind of the ways and a reconceptualization of chest voice, head voice. We get out of the binary of chest voice, head voice and understand registration in a different way. So that's the contemporary voice class. And then the panel with Jessica Baldwin, who I mentioned earlier, is a really beautiful dive into understandings around popular music singers and levels of trauma. Oh gosh, it was a deep one. That is purchasable until today. You have until the end of July to watch those. Coming up, I'm going to do the ever popular child voice and adolescent voice. And again, these are not how to teach necessarily, although when I teach anatomy and physiology, when I give the information, I am as intentional as I can be about giving the information in a way that also encourages that is entwined with the pedagogy of how to teach. So there is some sort of like, seeds about how to teach. It's not pedagogy, but it is information that will, allow for, a different kind of teaching. So that is coming up. The registration links and all that stuff will be coming up. And so that is coming up at the end of July. And the VoicePed Undegree is, I'm starting to meet with people middle of July to talk about the Undegree. It is a significant financial investment and it is a significant time investment. So as you can imagine, I'm in your studio sometimes, right? So we're working on stuff. So it's a significant time investment, significant financial investment. And so I am meeting with people middle of July-ish. We're starting to meet with people for enrollment for September 2023. Those meetings are all about, is this the right time for you to make this kind of financial and time investment? Is this the right time for you? So that's what that is. It will change your career. Thank you, Liz. Thank you. Yeah, that's what those meetings are. And then, yes, away we go. All right, happy long weekend. Happy Independence Day. Happy Canada Day. I hope you take a little time to reflect if that is part of what you do. Take care. Happy teaching. Boop. All right, let's end over here too. Bye, Liz. Bye.